accordance with Governor McKee's Executive Order 21-21 dated March 3rd, 2021, the Cumberland School Committee intends to conduct this meeting remotely. The public can participate in this meeting remotely, but not in person, by calling 1-312-626-6799, webinar ID 946-3938-3920, or they can join via Zoom by going to the Cumberland Schools website to the events calendar and clicking on the Zoom link. The first item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United
States of America,
to the
republic
for which
it stands,
one
one nation,
under God,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
The next item on the agenda is approval of agenda in compliance with Governor's Executive Order 21-21 dated March 3rd, 2021. A discussion or vote on whether there is public access to the meeting through adequate alternative means. And Mr. Chandler, I think we have it.
Yes, we do.
Public attending?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Motion to approve.
Thank you. A motion by Mr. Fiorello and second by Ms. Smith. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it 7-0. And we apologize for this meeting starting late. Our previous meeting went long. The next item on the agenda is the Student Government Report. Mr. Mitchell?
Madam Chair, there is a member of the Student Council, George Rocha, I believe, is here to do the report.
George, if you're here, if you could just raise your hand. I do not see him yet. George, if you're calling in from a phone, could you use *9 to raise your hand? I do not see anybody at this time.
Madam Chair, we were told that George would be available this evening to do the report. Clearly, we're going to have to pass on that item. I apologize.
Okay, and if he does show up, we can come back to that.
Okay.
The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Approval of minutes from the regular meeting, March 3rd, 2021. Approval of minutes from the executive session, March 11th, 2021. And personnel actions that I would just like to read out loud. So the retirement of Charles Sherry, custodian at Cumberland Hill, effective July 9th, 2021. And then we have a few coaching appointments. So all effective March 15th, 2021, Sean Connolly to the cross country NCMS as the cross country coach at NCMS, Kara Gorman as the girls soccer coach at NCMS, Grace Henson as the cross country coach at McCourt, Ronald LeClaire, the boys soccer coach at NCMS, Alyssa McCourt, the girls soccer coach at McCourt, and Scott Winslow, the boys soccer coach at McCourt. So I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mrs. Feather, second by
Second.
Mrs. Rogalski. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, 7-0. The next item on the agenda is report out of executive session meeting held on March 25th, 2021. Report out of executive session votes. We did not take any votes in the executive session. And the next item is a vote to seal minutes of the executive session. So I need a motion to seal the minutes.
Motion to approve, Madam Chair.
Motion by Mr. DeMonica, second by Mrs. Rogalski. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, 7-0. The next item on the agenda is the superintendent's report. Mr. Mitchell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, members of the school committee and everyone in attendance this evening. It is my pleasure to start the superintendent's report with a recognition of a third grade student at BF Norton Elementary School, Nicholas Silva. Actually, through his perseverance, was able to get a $5,000 grant from the Feinstein Foundation. As you all know, Alan Sean Feinstein is an incredibly benevolent man and has donated probably millions of money to educational institutions. And this is just another effort on his part. He started this golden ticket contest. And apparently what he did, this is what I learned about this particular contest. He started this golden ticket contest by giving every one of the Feinstein scholars a golden ticket. And every Monday, I believe 5 tickets from all of the schools in the state, and all of our schools, by the way, are Feinstein schools. 5 tickets are pulled. And then students are asked to check. I guess they have a Facebook page, or and Mrs. Feather is holding up an actual golden ticket. Students go to the site to see if their ticket was one of the tickets that was pulled in the lottery, and Nicholas Silva's ticket was pulled in the lottery, hence earning $5,000 for BF Norton Elementary School. And additionally, he also gets another $500 for a charity of his choice. And there may be one other personal thing for Nicholas. But I just think it's a wonderful thing that Nicholas really paid attention to this golden ticket contest, that he checked the site to see which tickets were pulled. His ticket was pulled, and he earned this significant amount of money for his school. So please join me in congratulating Nicholas for a job well done. So Nicholas, congratulations to you. Mike, is Nicholas in the audience? I asked him to prepare a speech to give. I'm only kidding.
He was actually here, but he's not here now.
Well, he probably had to go to bed. Anyway, so Nicholas, thank you so much. And of course, to his parents. And I know I spoke to Mrs. LaRiviere about this. She was really excited, as was the rest of the school and the staff. And I don't know if they've already decided how to spend the money, but good for them and good for Nicholas. Thank you so much for doing that. So that is item 1. The next thing that I would like to do, Madam Chair, is recognize one of our longstanding employees in the district. Marguerite Savickas is retiring effective tomorrow, I believe is her last day. She is a member of the IT department. She has held a number of positions in the district. And I know that Mike Chandler, the IT director, has something that he would like to say about Marguerite. Mike.
Yes, thank you. Hi, everyone. I'd like to take the time to congratulate and wish Marguerite the very best on her retirement. Although she did not start in the IT department, she did make it her favorite place to be for the last 10 of her almost 31 years here in Cumberland at our garden level. Marguerite has always been dedicated to her roles in the school department. When she came to the IT department for this newly created role of data manager, we really didn't know how important this role would become to the district. The only thing that we knew at the time that was that RIDE wanted data timely, accurate, and it needed to be yesterday. Oh, and by the way, they wanted it every day at the time. But we didn't know why. Marguerite, you will be missed, and you're remembered for the trips down memory lane and talks about the remember whens when we get together. From all of us, congratulations and enjoy your retirement with your new grandbaby. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. And if I just may add something to what Michael just said, you know, there are people that you meet in life, and I believe that there are people who are eternal optimists, and unfortunately, sometimes there are people who are the opposite of that. But the one thing that I think is a wonderful characteristic that Marguerite possesses is she is always positive, always willing to help, and incredibly professional. So always has a smile on her face, definitely sees the glass half full. She will be missed. So as Michael just mentioned, she has a new grandbaby, and I know she's really excited about that. But Marguerite, thank you for your contributions to the Cumberland School Department, and we wish you well in your retirement. Thank you so much for everything that you've done. Okay, moving on. Michael, can you please put up the positive update, please? COVID update. Thank you. As you all know, we like to keep you updated on these statistics. We share this spreadsheet at every one of our school committee meetings. We update it weekly. And as you can see, the data is continuing to head in a positive direction. We have had a few more positive students, but not a significant increase. No additional staff members have tested positive, as you can see. There have been more students that needed to be quarantined, but not significantly so. The same is true for adults. But the good news is, I think with more and more individuals getting vaccinated, and I actually just got my second vaccination yesterday, and I know that others have as well. So we're getting to that point where I think people are feeling more comfortable. That being said, we still need to be vigilant in our mitigation techniques, and we have seen everyone related to the district be mindful of all of those things, and we really appreciate that. So I think we're continuing to head in a positive direction. There is no data in this particular on this particular spreadsheet this week that is concerning. So we need to keep up the good work. Mike, can you please pull up the update on in-person learning? I just want to take a minute to go through this. There's only a few slides. You know, I have presented this over the last several weeks. I think there is some really hopeful information in this brief presentation that I'll be reviewing with you this evening. As you all know, the elementary school returned to 4 days of in-person on March 2nd, grades 3 to 5 on the 9th, both middle schools on the 16th, grade 12 also on the 9th, grade 9 on the 16th. And the good news is, and I know that the high school administration and the staff, and certainly lots and lots and lots of parents were anxious to hear about when 10th and 11th graders would be coming back to 4 days of in-person. And I'm pleased to report that on April 6th, 10th and 11th graders will be returning to the school for 4 days of in-person learning. And Mr. Costa will be sharing information with his staff in the morning, and then he'll be getting something out to students and families tomorrow as well. So this is a good news. And the bottom line is that we're going to be full in-person learning, grades K to 12, as of April 6th for everyone. So I think that is good news. And certainly we know that those 10th and 11th graders and their families are are going to be happy to hear that news. So thank you, Mike. Can you go to the next slide, please? There's a reason why I wanted to share this with all of you. I shared it last week, but I think it's really important that we understand why I'm sharing this with you. So we know that we have a number of students that are coming to school 4 days a week at the elementary level. As you can see, there are 1,364 students, 501 distance learners. Mike, can you go to the next slide, please? And there's a point to this. There are 324 and 512 middle schoolers that are in person, and 266 distant learners. So the reason that I mention this is because we have RICAST testing coming in the near future. And we have a responsibility to test all students, in-person students in grades 3 through 8, and distance learning students in grades 3 through 8. So that means those 767 distance learners, and they're not all in grades 3 through 8. There are some students in K1 and 2 that are included in that number. But the point is that there are a number of distance learners that we must test, and they have to come to school in order to be tested. So right now we're thinking, and more information is going to, be shared with families and students and staff. We're thinking that we may have to use Mondays to get these distance learners assessed. So we'll be, Mr. Damana and his team and all of the administrators are working to come up with a schedule to get this done. And I know at the high school level, we're also responsible for administering the SAT and the PSAT. And I know that Mr. Costa and his team are working on that as well. So the reason I mention this in truth is because we're at a point where, we should be considering bringing students back 5 days a week. If we can bring them back in for 4, then why can't we bring them back into 5? And the reason that I'm letting you know this is because, we may need Mondays to get this testing of distance learners done. So I just wanted to plant that seed, and more information will follow. Thank you, Mike. Can you move on to the next slide, please? So just a couple of things to conclude. One of the other things that we are happy to report is that we're really hopeful that bus ridership is going to increase to 75% capacity. So as you know, right now, there are a limited number of students allowed on buses. The Education Operations Center, the Rhode Island Department of Health, RIDE, they've been working together to make a change to ridership. And we're hoping, there is hope, this is not definite, but there is hope that the 75, because it has to be approved by, it's amazing, all of the steps that have to, that this process goes through and for approval. But we're hoping that that 75% capacity will be in line with all of the students being in school K to 12 on April 6th. So that's not a definite, but it's been tentatively stated that that may in fact happen. So we're hopeful there. Also, just so that I think there should be comfort in knowing that the Education Operations Center, our point of contact is Laura Canavan, as I've mentioned before, and her colleague Dennis Mendez, and occasionally other members of her team have visited all of our schools. They've been incredibly helpful in addressing some of the challenges that we have and helping us get our schools ready to get all of these students in on a regular basis. Everyone needs to know that we are still following all of the safety precautions, and all of the mitigation strategies are in place. Next slide, please, Mike. I think people are going to be pleased to hear that our task force, we met on Wednesday, and just so that you know, no decisions are made in isolation. We make these major decisions together. We reach consensus, and this is one of those issues that we have agreed on. We know that there are families concerned about travel and other issues like close contacts. We have decided as a task force, we have reached consensus that we are going to allow students who travel and close contacts to return to school on day 8 after with a negative test after day 5. So on day 5, a student or an adult working in the district can get tested. If the test comes back negative, then they would be allowed to return to school on day 8. And there must be proof of the negative test. And the test has to be done on day 5. So I know that a number of families, you know, with April vacation approaching, a number of families are planning after a year of dealing with COVID to, they're making plans and are anxious to hear about this. And let me just say, one of the more frustrating things that we have to deal with is the truth is there are actually 3 options for this particular situation. One is 14 days of quarantining, which we started with, the gold standard, because we wanted to make sure that everybody was safe and we wanted to make sure that everybody felt safe. 14 days, then 10, and this is still in the guidance, by the way, 14 days, 10 days, and then this option. So we started with 14, we went to 10, and now we're going with this option. And I can tell you, I know that I have colleagues that I have talked to, there are still a lot of districts that are at 14 days. So the important thing here is proof of a negative test. Moving on then, please contact your principals with school-specific questions. And I really, you know, we haven't had a whole lot of activity from the outside world in our schools for obvious reasons. The only people in our schools are students and staff. So, you know, families haven't been able to see how much work the administration and the staff and the facilities staff have done to get these schools ready and safe for students and staff to come in every day. I need to publicly thank the administrators, the staff that have worked with administrators to get these schools ready for students and staff. And it is a lot of work. And you know what? I almost I wish that people could see the impressive work and the level of detail that has gone into preparing these schools to make them safe. Next slide, please, Mike.
That's the last.
Oh, it is. Okay. All right. So, So thank you, Mike. Okay. So the good news is we're one step closer to getting back to normal, and everyone's worked really hard to do that. So I don't know if anybody has any questions. Usually, you know, members of the committee do have a question, and I'll be happy to answer them as best I can.
Mrs. Rogalski?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Mitchell, I know that I emailed you before with a concern from a parent about when students are on buses, what the quarantine procedure would be in case there was a positive case. I think a lot of parents are still afraid of that because they don't know what that is. Would you be able to just kind of let everyone know here? I remember what it is, but I just wanted to see if you could tell everyone, because I think a lot of parents are concerned if your kid's on the bus and there's a positive case, what's going to happen. So I wasn't sure if you could maybe allay some.
Okay, well, and I think I'm correct. And I know that there are other individuals like, Mrs. Duncanson, who is very privy to all this stuff. But the rule of thumb for making decisions about close contacts being quarantined, the rule of thumb is 6 feet. So it's what the bus company has done is the student sitting in front, the student sitting behind, and the student sitting across from the child that has tested positive would all be quarantined. Is that accurate, Katie, based on your experience? And the same is true for classrooms, by the way. Go.
It's 6 feet or closer for longer than 15 minutes cumulative during the day. So if it's a 5-minute bus ride in the morning and a 10-minute bus ride in the afternoon, it would be considered a close contact.
I'm glad you mentioned that. 15 minutes is important.
Yeah, I just think it's important parents know the entire bus. If you choose to send your child on the bus, the entire bus does not have to be quarantined.
No,
because I know that's a concern.
Well, that's a great point. And here's another thing. Like, I'm glad you mentioned that. And the Department of Health is in the decision-making process. So I would certainly hope that that parents take comfort in knowing that they're not going to let these the numbers get up to 75% if they had concerns. So I think everyone's doing such a great job of wearing masks, and they're incredibly conscientious about social distancing. And the big challenge, not to open up a can of worms, but the big challenge, as you all know, is the high school and passing time. But again, that 15-minute exposure is a significant, and it really is impressive to see how cooperative students have been in, doing their part to, keep one another safe. So, it was really, I was really pleased to see how cooperative they were when we were in the high school last Thursday with Laura Canavan and Dennis Mendez, and Mr. Costa was present. Things have changed in a positive way, and students are not like, they're, as we all know, teenagers are social creatures, and, they look forward to, any opportunity they have to socialize in some way. And it's amazing how they can maximize 5 minutes in between classes, but they're not doing that. They are getting from point A to point B as quickly as possible. And I had a chance to see it firsthand in probably the busiest part of the high school building, and students moved along very quickly. And I think it was because of that we had the support of Laura Canavan and Dennis Mendez, to allow the 10th and 11th graders to come back.
Ms. Smith, did you have a question? Yeah.
I actually have 3, but I'm going to try to make them very quick. Superintendent Mitchell, just to re-clarify, because I think that some people maybe perhaps do not understand the full depth of it. The RICAS is required by the state, and they have not given us anybody in the state a break this year because of COVID. They're still mandating it, which is what's prohibiting us from bringing the students back on Mondays until we can work out the testing schedule with those 700 and some odd students.
Thank you so much for bringing that up. I should have mentioned it during, the slide presentation. You are absolutely right. The expectation is that all students coming to school in person and distance learners, all students are expected to take RICAS. Right. And, I don't know that we can force people to take it, but there are still some parents who are, trying to opt students out, and, emailed RIDE today to just, again, ask, what are we supposed to do under these circumstances? So there aren't many percentage-wise, but there definitely are families that are concerned about that and are attempting to opt their child out. And the bottom line is, according to RIDE, no opt-outs. Thank you for bringing that up.
No, and I think that that's very important to understand, because certainly we all recognize that there could be a loss of learning that has happened over the past year. But I think it's important for the parents to also understand that we're not saying, well, we're going to keep Monday for distance learners, just in case we need to bring them in and have people blame the distant learners for not having go back 5 days. This is a state mandated for all students regardless. So
well said. Yes, that is accurate.
Okay, and then the second quick thing then is, this has come up, and perhaps we can address it at the next meeting as well with some more information. Now that we potentially could be going up to 75% on the buses, there are a lot of parents who have complained that their child used to take the bus and now doesn't take the bus. And even though we've said multiple times, we never changed the distances, it's just been now followed by the bus department, or Durham in this case, that it's not a situation that we've changed our distances. And a lot of them are saying the bus drives right by us, right by our house. They pick up a child diagonally across whatever it may be. When they up the percentages, will there be some leeway to have their children re-picked up when they had been in the past years?
Well, I think, to answer your question as best I can, and I think, that's a conversation that the school committee has to have. But I do think, I can tell you as the superintendent, and I'm sure as the school committee, you feel the same way, that we have a responsibility to follow the policy. And, if the policy says that, anyone living outside of a mile away from the middle schools, you are in a position to ride the bus. Anything less than that and you're not. And I know that some of you are actually involved in getting in your cars and checking the mileage yourselves because of the concerns that you were getting from some families. So, I think Durham has been flexible when it comes to issues related to safety, but I think we have a responsibility to follow the policy. And I think the only other potential consideration would be to change the policy. And that's a policy decisions are made by the school committee. So, we did learn, as you mentioned, Ms. Smith, that there were students who were living inside of the walking range that were being picked up. And of course, that created some problems. So I think that's something for us to consider moving forward.
I just want to interject for 1 second, Ms. Smith. It is not true, and I know this is probably not what you meant. It was not Durham's decision to change everything, to change the status of some of these kids. This was a school department decision that we had to do based on occupancy on the buses due to COVID. And we were going to change the distances until we realized how many kids were living within the walking distances that really should have been bused. And I know over the years, those eligible kind of expanded within neighborhoods to include, that one kid that's there. And that's how this all kind of started. So, but we'll be doing a full review of the transportation policy over the summer. It is important for everyone to understand, though, if we're going to include more kids on buses, it's going to include more buses, which is a substantial cost to us. So.
Right. Yeah. And it was just a situation of, I think that's how we had been describing it too, with the review getting ready for busing for COVID. It was then realized that that policy wasn't being adhered to in the way that we anticipated it to be, and that the only change was bringing kindergartners to the same distance as everyone else within their elementary school. So thank you for that, Mr. Fiorello.
Yeah, and let's not kid ourselves. This is a lousy town. in order to, walk to school or even to walk to a bus stop. We have dangerous roads, thin roads, New England roads with very few sidewalks. And during the winter and during the dark hours of the winter days, it's very, it's in a lot of places, it's dangerous. It's not safe. We all get it.
Right. And Superintendent Mitchell, the last one I would like perhaps for you to re-clarify is related to that test out option that we're given, or that will be given to people to test after 5 days if they had traveled or if there was close contact, to be able to return on the 8th day to the school with the negative test. The testing that you're requesting that be done it has to be done after day 5 or on day 5?
On day 5.
Contact, right, after contact. So if somebody in a home has been in contact with someone else in the home that has it, the last day of their contact is when those 5 days start, right? So, and I use the case that I've just gone through. My son had to be quarantined for the 10 days, and we were looked at that. We then had to start our quarantine on the last day of his 10 days because we were close contact to him.
Right.
I mean, we sent him somewhere else, but so we wouldn't have to worry. But that's what you mean, and it's also the PCR test, I believe it is, not the rapid test.
Mrs. Duncanson has become an expert on this.
Yeah, that's why I was just trying to.
A reluctant expert, yes. So we got clarification on the test today from the pod, and the Binax or the PCR is acceptable for that. So the old, I don't think they do the old rapid anymore because it's not, there were too many false negatives.
No, the state, that's what they have on their, the state offers for their test. They offer rapid, PCR, or Binax.
Right, but the rapid is the Binax now. That's what they were telling us today. So either Binax or PCR. And then, and then, yes, you are correct. Household contacts, your day 0 is the last day of your household member's positive isolation period. And then day 1 is the first day in which they are released from their isolation. Travel and close contacts of non-household members. So you travel to a state, or you had a close contact with someone you work with, say, and so you don't live with them, that contact, your last day of contact with them is day 0. And then the day after that is day 1 of your quarantine.
And how are we going to monitor? We're just going to say that it's going to be on the attestation that the parents say we have had the negative test, or how are we going to manage that? Because I know that could cause a lot of complexities just trying to determine from the travel side of thing. I think the close contact, you get information from Department of Health if it's a student or someone within the school, but what about the travel?
Can I answer that?
Sure, go ahead. And I will.
The nurses were just, this was just decided yesterday. So I think that right now they're figuring out how to deal with that. We have set up a form in my office for staff members traveling, in which we've provided them a way to upload their proof of vaccination. And we can also, do a similar one for a negative test. But we manage all staff. I can't say enough about my staff right now. Bonnie Dresnick spends a lot of time. She is probably a bigger expert than I am in quarantine periods and things like that. So she and I work very closely on that, and she's on the phone all the time talking about day periods and when quarantines end and begin. So
okay, so then I guess that leads to a few more questions on that, and one of them is, can we really make sure that when the notification is going out to parents, whether it's through the principals or the weekly superintendent letter, can we make sure that everyone really understands in traveling situations, when you land in Providence or TF Green and you take a rapid test immediately, that is not day 5. Your day that's day 0, and you have to wait the 5 more days, because that seems to cause a lot of confusion with the Department of Health saying you can get that rapid when you land, but then linking over to something else that says, oh, you should be, if you're traveling, you should be waiting the 5 days. And then the other thing would be, are we going to be reducing classroom quarantines from 14 days and lowering that as well under the circumstances?
I'm not exactly sure, as you can imagine. It gets a little complicated. Clearly, the intent was to address, because I've been getting bombarded with, and I'm sure you have too, with questions about travel. And again, when you have multiple options, it creates a real problem. So I don't understand why there are multiple options, and how it can be left up to a district to decide. But I guarantee you, if we kept it at the gold standard, we'd all be getting bombarded with emails about why aren't we doing, what other districts are doing. So I think we need to, I'm not comfortable even, I don't know how to answer that question right now, to be honest.
That's fair enough. And, I'm very thankful for the policy that you do have and how it's managed. And as you said, there would be far too many more complexities if we started following multiple layers in there. And I can't imagine how your team could even look at that and try to get your hands around it when we are in everyday fast-paced moving pandemic. So thank you both for your work and in your team's work on it all.
Thank you. Thanks. Any other questions? Madam Chair, I would just like to add one more thing to my report, and that is, we have asked, certainly you have asked, Madam Chair, that an update be provided on the building projects. And Holly Demers actually, got married and was on her honeymoon, so we gave her the day off. So she'll be at the next meeting giving an update to the school committee and the community. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Congratulations to Holly. Okay, let's see. Next item on the agenda. Oh, Mr. Chandler?
Excuse me, Madam Chair. We have George Rocher. He was having some technical difficulties, so he just popped in.
Excellent. Okay, welcome, George.
Oh, he keeps moving around on me. He should be coming in now.
Hello.
Oh, hey, George.
Hello. Just trying to work my mic. My video camera. Is it on?
No, your video is not on.
Sorry, this is a bit rough, but I'm pleased to be here. Thank you for having me.
We're happy to have you.
Video. Okay.
I feel like this is the same thing I see my kids do every day with their video.
It doesn't. It says it's on, but it doesn't seem to be working in the top corner.
Mr. Chandler, are you able to do anything?
No, I'm sending a request for it to start. He may just be having an issue with his camera on whatever device he's using. But we can hear him okay, so.
Yeah.
Would you like me to continue without my video? Or...
Yeah, we'd love to see you, George, but
I'd like to show my face as well.
We can take your voice for now.
Okay, so my name is George Roche, as you may all know, and I'm the student government president. And I'm here in representation for the club to inform you all what we've been concentrating on this past month. Our focuses were geared towards the spread of positivity and raising money for not only our respective classes, but for a charitable organization called Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. To start off, we brainstormed ways to elevate one's mood like around the realm of Cumberland High School. And with that, we thought that banners filled with powerful statements could achieve the goal. And banners flooded the fences, tennis courts, and the banner famous bridge walk, which everyone seems to get out a great statement over there. Secondly, there was a senior class fundraiser Tuesday at Shops, in which we received 20% of profits between 4 to 9 p.m. And also we held a fundraiser yesterday at Angelo's for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. These fundraisers ended with a great turnout. There were a lot of people, a lot of showed up. There was a great line. You had to wait a bunch, but great cause for both situations. Lastly, our school-wide Pennies for Patients fundraiser is coming to an end tomorrow, Friday, and we've been pushing to raise as much money as possible. And with that being said, I want to enter a link somewhere to have for the Pennies for Patients to donate if you guys are able to in any way. Anything would be much appreciated. So thank you in advance. But I don't happen to see a chat there. It's a bit weird.
I don't think we have the chat feature turned on, George.
Oh, okay. I guess I can just maybe send this through email to the secretary, and she could put it out on the website or something.
Yeah.
We can do that, George.
Okay. Do you want me to email you, Mr. Mitchell?
Yeah, or yes,
Okay.
please.
And congratulations on the retirement as well.
Oh, thank you, George.
Of course. But yeah, that's all.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for being here, George. Sorry we couldn't see you. And
Of course.
keep up all of the great work. We love seeing the banners everywhere, especially.
Thank you so much.
All right. Have a good night.
You as well. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay. So next on the agenda is reports of standing committees. The first one is Fiscal Management Subcommittee update. Mr. Demotica.
Madam Chair, we did meet tonight. A couple of items are on the agenda tonight. First is, I'll go out of order, but we are ordering the parts for the Garvin Playground to get taken care of. And we're looking at work at the high school for the new administrative entrance, and the paperwork has gone out to RFP has gone out to the newspapers. Sedesco is actually making a little profit at this time, about $20-something thousand. There are certainly some needs still for people out there that would like a job to contact Sedesco at the high school about working. And the biggest item tonight was that the business manager gave us an overall look at what the superintendent's budget proposal will be for next week. All the members, if they haven't gotten the book yet, need to contact Cindy Shabbatz and get a hard copy if you'd like a hard copy. But beginning next Tuesday and next Thursday at 5:30 p.m., the Fiscal Subcommittee and the full members of the Cumberland School Committee will meet remotely, again on Zoom, to start going over the superintendent's proposed budget for next year. So that would be next Tuesday and Thursday at 5:30 p.m. And the first meeting on Tuesday is just for informational purposes only. We were going to ask questions. The second meeting could possibly be a vote if we needed to take a vote on the superintendent's budget that we would send off to the town. By charter, we have until the first Monday in April to send the proposed budget to the town for their budget deliberations, and we'll see where we stand going there. But right now we are gone. Planners to ask the town for a 4% increase in their appropriations to the school department. So that was it for tonight.
Okay, thank you, Mr. DeMonica. Next is the Policy and Procedures Subcommittee update.
We have not met, Madam Chair.
Okay, and next is Achievement and Communication Subcommittee update, and we did not meet this week either because we had another meeting as a school committee. The next item on the agenda is District Health and Wellness Subcommittee update. Mrs. Rogalski.
We have our first meeting April 1st.
Oh, great, thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda is old business. Discussion and or vote to approve the 2021-2022 school calendar. Option B1 revised August with the start date of August 30th, 2021. It includes all of the religious holidays, the previously identified religious holidays. Mr. Mitchell, do you want to give this overview?
Sure, Madam Chair. As you may recall, after the last meeting, we reviewed actually 6 options. I shared with the school committee that option B1 was the option that the administrators supported. And as we discussed that with the school committee, the major issue that you all had was, and understandably so, was the fact that there were 2 professional development days at the beginning of the school year. In fact, on September 1st and 2nd, and the students reported on the 3rd. You requested that we move those 2 days, and they were moved. One is on the 29th of September. The other is on the 28th of October. And this particular option includes the religious holidays, which we were able to reach consensus on. So B1, to summarize, moves those 2 professional development days to later on in the month of September and October. It does include religious holidays. So I would recommend, Madam Chair, approval of option B1 as revised.
Okay, any questions or comments? Mr. DeMonica.
Madam Chair, my only concern, again, I had said it at the last meeting, is this will be the first year that we're going to be starting construction, and that we want to make sure we have the transitional building ready for when school does start, so that Cumberland Hill students can move in. And I'm just hoping that everything gets out properly, bid properly, and we can get the work started. But that would be my only concern with the B1 schedule. I know only one time in the past 9 years, we actually had to start school late a few days because the schools weren't ready. But I'm hopeful, and I'll be supporting the B1 tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Smith?
Superintendent Mitchell, could we have that shared with us as well? I believe that I'm only seeing the older one still. So and maybe we can have that updated.
Sure. Forgive me for interrupting, but I'm pretty sure that Mrs. Shabbat included it in the school committee drive. But we'll make sure that it's in there. Okay,
it's under old business under tonight's meeting.
Under old business under tonight's. Okay, thank you. I was looking for it under the other one. Thank you.
Okay, yep, you're welcome. Thank you, Mr. Collins.
Okay, if there aren't any other comments or questions, we
Motion to approve.
motion to approve by Mr. Fiorello.
Second.
Second, by
Aye.
Mrs. Feather. I just want to make a comment that I think it's time that we start considering that secular schools make religious holidays a personal choice for people to take off and not a choice of the school district. But that's just my personal opinion. So we have a motion and a second, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The chair is opposed. It passes 6-1.
I actually opposed it. You didn't ask for nays.
Oh, I'm sorry, Amy.
Okay.
Sorry. Let me take that vote again.
It's okay.
I'm sorry.
Wait a minute, so do we have, is it possible to go back? Because that was kind of the statement. I just want some clarification. So as part of, was that discussion? Because the case was made that since we were going to have a vote, the case is that we're not supposed, the argument against it is that secular public schools should not give the day off and it should just be a choice.
I was just giving my personal opinion about.
Oh,
why.
no, I'm not debating it. I just wasn't sure what you said.
Yes, that is. I believe that celebrating religious holidays should be a personal choice, and that we should have the federal holidays on our calendar, and a religious holiday. I think we should consider it not being part of a secular school calendar.
Okay, yeah, I kind of missed it. So thank you for clarifying. All right.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
So are we
So
voting again?
So we are voting again. We have a motion and a second to approve option B1 revised. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay. Okay, so it passes 5-2. Thank you. Sorry about that.
I was adding in my head.
I know, so was I. Okay, next item on the agenda is new business. The first item is discussion and or vote to approve 2020-2021 homeschool instruction requests. That was in the drive. There are 3 new requests. Mr. Mitchell, is there anything for you to add on this?
No, Madam Chair. I recommend approval.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Mr. Fiorello,
Second.
second by Mrs. Rogalski. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the ayes have it 7-0. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is discussion and or vote to approve payment of bills. Mr. DeMonico, do we have payment of bills tonight?
Madam Chair, there is no payment of bills tonight.
Okay, great. And the next item on the agenda is comments from the public. So if you'd like to make a comment, you can raise your virtual hand, or if you're online, *6 to unmute. And you'll need to state your name and address. Mr. Chandler, do you see anyone?
Not at this time.
Okay. Then the next item on the agenda is school committee comments, school liaison reports. If anyone has any comments, Mrs. Rogalski.
First, I just want to say that I wish George's camera had worked because he's rocking a really sweet mullet with razor lines right now. It's pretty impressive. But second, I just want to say, as a parent who drops off at community and at North and at the high school every day and picks up too, I have been really impressed with the traffic flow and how administration has handled it. I think they've all adapted really well. They've added a second line at the high school, which is great. North added Staples. Community, it's just really, it's flowing really well. So just lots of praise when there is an insane volume of cars dropping off every day and picking up. They've really done really well. So I just would like to kind of congratulate them all for that.
Thank you. Other comments? Mr. DeMonica?
Madam Chair, I'd just like to congratulate publicly Dr. Santa and the special ed department for that glowing letter from RIDE in regards to the 5-year audit that the special ed department had to go through with 0 deficiencies. And that's testimony to the staff and Dr. Santa. And the public should know that the special ed department, went through with flying colors, and just wanted to point that out to the public. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other, Mr. Collins?
I just want to personally offer my condolences to Mr. Demotica for the passing of his brother. It's always hard to lose a loved one, but I know firsthand losing one during COVID, it makes it even more complicated. So my condolences to you and your family during this difficult time. Thank you.
Thank you to everyone.
Mr. Fiorello.
Yeah, I just want to echo Mr. DeMonica's congratulations to the special ed department. It's really, a few years ago, we restructured that department to have more on-hands coordinators instead of an assistant director. And that model has worked extremely well over the last few years. I also want to point out that Mrs. Carter, the principal over at Garvin, has asked that she is looking for a part-time lunch monitor for Wednesdays and Fridays. They've had some trouble finding somebody. If anyone is interested, they should contact the HR department at the school, at the main school, at the central office rather. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments, school liaison reports? Okay, thank you. The next item on the agenda is vote to go into executive session. Mr. Mitchell, do we have executive session tonight?
No, we do not, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Mr. Fiorello,
Second.
Second.
second by Mrs. Rogalski, Mr. Collins, and Mr. DeMonica. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, 7-0. Meeting's adjourned at 8:19 p.m. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a
Good
good
night,
night.
everyone.
Thank
Night,
you.